so much for helping us coordinate this webinar. And I'd like to thank everyone who has made time to actually join us and get to know a little bit more about North American Payment Solutions as well as North 49. Before I begin the presentation, I just want to say that it is an honor to have the folks from North 49 sponsor one of our webinars. We're very excited to integrate with their product and work in conjunction with North 49 to provide an all-encompassing solution to both our merchants and our Sage channel partners. North 49, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the company, but for those of you that have not heard of North 49 before, North 49 is a Sage Gold developer partner and publisher of Webtelligence. This is the most tightly integrated e-commerce platform available for Sage 300. Whether you need an integrated web store that eliminates the need to manually key in anything, to a customer portal that allows your customers to self-serve, providing increased value and promoting customer loyalty, North 49 can help. I love the way that they have this phrased out, so I wanted to make sure to share that with everybody on the call today. With that, I'm going to go ahead and just go through a brief agenda. We're going to try to make it as painless as possible. We're going to talk about North American Payment Solutions as well as North 49. We will review our merchant fee structures, talk about PCI compliance and non-PCI compliance fees. We'll go through a breakdown of the monthly bill, who's getting paid for what, and we'll talk about varying interchange fees, and then we'll hand it over to the team at North 49 and have them provide you with a really nice overview of what they can help with regarding Webtelligence. So a little bit about North American Payment Solutions. We have been in the payment industry for over 25 years. You're definitely dealing with credit card processing industry experts when you speak. We have over 50 years combined experience with the different consultants that are with us. Our CEO was actually one of the founders of Sage Payment Solutions, and with that I can tell you he has ample experience in both sides of the equation here within the ERP system as well as with credit card processing in general. We are processing for thousands of merchants in the United States, entered in Canada, the Canada market as of January 1st, 2016. We specialize in integrated payments. Our customer support team is at your fingertips. We refuse to have an automated system. We want to make sure that you are always able to contact a live human being. And yes, the team is found within the United States, so you're able to contact them no matter what time zone you're in. We also offer free PCI compliance support and assistance. So a little bit about merchant processing history. Credit card processing was sold and distributed through the Visa or MasterCard networks by the large banks. And I'm talking about, for example, Citibank, Bank of America, Chase, Moneris in the Canadian base, for example. Banks found that processing and serving merchant accounts was not in their skill set and began to outsource processing to MSPs, which is the member service providers. And rather than continue to go through the slides and read through them this way, Bryce, would you mind jumping in and telling us a little bit about the processing history, especially when it comes to the member service providers?
Sure, yeah. So with banks were the first one tasked to actually be the ones to distribute merchant accounts throughout first the U.S. and then the rest of the world. But the problem was banks really couldn't service to the level that retailers and big box stores were needing. So Visa and MasterCard decided to open it up to some of the other smaller banks and then eventually to merchant service providers, member service providers like our company. So the reason why they opened it up to smaller companies first and then, as us processors grew, because we really are credit card processing experts when it comes to customer service, pricing, equipment, software integrations. Obviously, big banks, that's not really their specialty. So that's really the history. And like Patty said, we've been doing it for about 25 years. I personally have been doing it for about 5 years now, but we have some people in our company who've been here much longer than I have.
Thank you, Bryce. The next slide that I have on the screen right now has to do with fee structures offered by MSPs. Now, one of the biggest confusions that I hear from our merchants is the fact that they are unbelievably happy with flat rates. And I'll tell you, flat rates are perfect for a ma and pa shop or a smaller company. They're, the one flat percentage plus transaction fee and no other fees is perfect for someone that really doesn't want to worry about looking into the statements. But here's where the issue comes up, and we'll talk about it a little bit more throughout the presentation. It has to do mainly with level 3 processing. Level 3 processing is available within the continental U.S., and it basically offers to lower your Visa and MasterCard rates almost in half for any business-to-business or business-to-government transaction that is processed within the continental U.S. If you have the flat rate structure, you actually miss out on a huge level of savings. And I'll show you a sample throughout the presentation, but please keep that in mind. If there's any area that you can save money and you can get those rates lowered, you're missing out on that because you have the flat rate structured. Tiered pricing, you basically have the either fully qualified, mid-qualified, or non-qualified rates. So all of these rates are different, and then you might also have some hard costs billed separately. But again, you have a mixture of rates. It's confusing. It's very hard to keep track of the reporting. I can't even begin to tell you about. Now, what we use at North American Payment Solutions is Interchange Plus. Merchant pays the hard costs associated with each transaction plus a markup fee from North American Payment Solutions, for example. It's very transparent. There is no confusion. Reporting is much easier. When you batch out at the end of the day, you're able to reconcile without going through a million hoops before you actually recognize exactly what's going on. Bryce, did you want to add anything regarding this slide?
No, I think you covered it really well.
So here's a quick sample of what a flat rate would look like, offered by merchant account aggregators. And you could see most of you would be familiar with, for example, Square or PayPal. And then you could see the examples. If you swipe, say, $1,000 sale times 2.75%, you'll see that the fee will be $27.50. And you can see that. And I'm not going to read through the slide, but it's just so you get an idea of the flat rates. And this is why people prefer them. They see the rate, they're comfortable with it, they don't want to know anything else. But remember, sometimes what you don't know will hurt your bottom line. And we're here to show you. It's really nice for us to be able to go through your merchant statements and point out the areas where you could actually save money and you would be missing out on that with the flat rate. Next, we would have the tiered pricing, for example. And you can see the processor is bundling the interchange fees into tiers, for example. And you can see the samples here. Notice how the 3-tier pricing offered by Intuit, PayPal, for example. Sorry, I clicked too many times here. You can see the fully qualified rate versus the mid or non-qualified varies. So that, again, makes it confusing. And Bryce, did you want to say anything about this slide?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to this is in Canada, the interchange rates are actually lower for Visa and MasterCard than they are in the United States. Canadians have done a good job negotiating those rates down from Visa to MasterCard. But the reality is interchange rates are actually the same no matter who your processor is unless you do level 3, which Patty will get into here in a little bit. So these are examples of 3-tier pricing in the United States. There's one example. There's a Canadian company who approached us, wanted us to do an analysis for them. They use Sage 300, and we're able to save them well over $10,000 a year simply because we're taking them from this type of structure to a wholesale or a pass-through type of pricing structure, which Patty's about to go into.
Thank you, Bryce. And I can't emphasize enough the level of savings that you will encounter if you decide to switch to a more transparent type of pricing. Again, flat rates, you're comfortable. Tiered pricing, you can see it there, but it's a bit confusing. There's always more room for savings, and the way to find that savings would be through Interchange Plus. You can see it is the most transparent pricing. There's really, notice how the slide is so much cleaner than the other slides that I showed you, and there's a reason for that. There really wasn't that much more information to share. I mentioned to you the merchant pays true interchange assessment fees. The markup from the processor is transparent, and then the interchange rates vary from 0.05% to 2.45%. Now remember, we offer a level 3 gateway for Sage 300 within the continental U.S. So when we talk about the rates and level 3 processing, that's when you're able to see the amount of savings that we can provide you, of course, using the Interchange Plus pricing structure. Now, who receives the fees? Very simple. You can see on the screen. I won't have to read through it, but just so you get an idea, there are 3 different areas: card issuers, card brands, and the MSPs. And you can see which fees are being received by who. The card issuers, for example, you can see the interchange fees, international fees, AVS. Card brands, you can see them on the screen. Now the MSPs, we get the sales discount, authorization, transaction, batch fees, which means they can play with these numbers as much as they want. Some of them will charge you the PCI compliance fees. They will definitely try to charge for support, a statement fee, a gateway fee, and then any additional fees. And we help you understand exactly what you're being billed for from your current processor. So let us know. Let us take a look at that statement, and we'll spell it out for you. We'll show you exactly who's making the money where and where exactly you're going to be able to save money if you decide to switch to North American Payment Solutions. So here's a quick sample, and it's a North American and American Payment Solutions statement. Because we use the Interchange Plus structure, notice how transparent it would be. You would basically see a summary of your daily deposits, and then what we do, if you see on the right side of the screen, we itemize the fees by card type. This helps us to determine which one of these transactions would have been able to qualify for level 3 processing. It helps you to find out exactly where you would have received the savings for level 3 processing. This sort of statement is very rare. Most processors will summarize, hiding the areas where you would be able to save money. And once again, we're happy to review those statements and point out exactly where it is that you should be looking to find out whether or not you can save money. Now, what you see on the screen right now is a merchant analysis. This is a true merchant. We hid the customer's information, of course, for security purposes, but you can see at the very top, we will show and discuss the current pricing from your existing processor. Okay, now notice how we have the Visa discount, and then we show the volume at a 2% rate. The cost was $514.34. The number of transactions was 19. Now, there's a reason I just walked you through this. If you go to the bottom under American Payment Solutions proposed pricing, everything remains the same. We, of course, will lower the rate to 0.20%, and the cost will go down, notice, from $514 to $51.44. And then most people ask, well, did you make a mistake? Why does it say 9 transactions versus 19? You're not comparing it correctly. Guess what we found out? This particular client was being charged a transaction fee per pre-authorization and then a separate transaction fee once they were getting ready to finalize the transaction or capture it. That's why we only show 9. There was actually literally only 9 valid transactions as far as we were concerned, no matter if you pre-authorized and then captured or if it was a straight deposit sale. So that's what we keep track of, and that's what we charged for. The difference is tremendous. $52.34 would have been our fees compared to $500.16. And the same appears to have happened with MasterCard. You could see the pricing here. Notice the level of savings. Again, I can't emphasize it enough. It's all a matter of understanding what your current processor is offering you at this very moment. Learn how to understand that, and you will also find savings. I guarantee it. Bryce, did you want to add anything to this slide?
No, the only thing I'll say is I've analyzed probably around 3,000 merchant statements in my career here. Literally every single one is different. So this is just an example. I will tell you our average ERP integrated account does save several $1,000s per year. Some will only save a small amount, but the nice thing is that companies still did their due diligence in finding out how much money is still on the table. How much money can we save from our merchant account? Where other companies have saved 6 figures. There's been a few examples this year alone where we saved them $100,000, $112,000 a year. The nice thing is that opens up some of their cash flow to reach out and grab that integrated website that they're looking for from a partner like North 49, grab that warehouse distribution software or shipping software, whatever they're really looking to budget for the next 3 quarters, 4 quarters. Merchant services is really a great area where you can allocate some of those funds, redirect it from overpaying your processor to investing back in your company with other services that you're really wanting. So again, the out of the thousands that I've looked at, the numbers really are never the same because so many processors are out there and they all price differently. But the nice thing is we can at least catch you up to speed with Merchant Services 101 on a one-on-one session, walk through your fees so you really understand it, and then show you how we charge our merchants. So that's really the analysis presentation, and it typically takes about 30 minutes on a one-on-one, depending on how many questions are asked.
That was a great point, Bryce. I appreciate that. For those of you that are Sage partners on the call right now, I do want to point out there are advantages as far as the merchant analysis, because as Bryce mentioned, we will find some sort of savings that will help that merchant or your end user find the budget to purchase the upgrade or the enhancements they've been holding back on because they didn't have enough budget in place. Keep that in mind. And I'm just pointing out how at the beginning it was a tiered structure. You can see that, and now you could see the bank issuer and card brand fees, which are much more transparent. So what are some of the benefits of North American Payment Solutions? I mentioned that we do have a dedicated 24/7 on-site support team. Support is at absolutely no charge to the merchant, 365 days a year. One of the nice things that I've seen about the merchant onboarding process is the fact that the salesperson that originally conducts the merchant analysis remains the salesperson to the account for the life of the account. Therefore, anytime your end users or you as a merchant contact us, you will have someone at our office that knows everything there is to know about your existing credit card processing procedures. So it just makes it a lot easier to provide support. We also provide online management and reporting. I'll show you a little bit about our partner portal. One of the major differences that everyone mentions when I show them the portal is the flexibility in reporting and the sorting criteria that we offer. And I'll show you when we get there. We also have a quick approval process. If you have ever run into trying to process credit cards with a particular bank or processor and have been denied, you might want to take a look at North American Payment Solutions. We take the time to get to know our merchants to the point where we actually learn about their products and services. We study their website and understand how they're currently processing, what they're selling, things to that nature. We've received many clients that have been denied by other processors simply because they have pharmaceutical in the name of their website, for example. We've taken the time to actually visit the website and found that they sell latex gloves. So we're able to actually approve them and get them processing as quickly as possible. We have next day funding available. Now, this is a really good example because it is true next day funding. We actually will provide you with the funds within 12 hours in some cases. For example, if you're on the East Coast, if you batch out by 9 p.m., we will have the funds available in your bank at 9 a.m. the next morning. That's literally 12 hours and not the typical 24 hours that other processors offer as quote-unquote next-day funding. There are no merchant support setup fees, so we do not charge for installation, implementation, training. We do not charge for support, or there are no maintenance fees. However, we are very fast to deliver the current version of Sage as soon as the Sage software company releases a new version. We usually guarantee it within 30 days, but I'll tell you, we're typically there within 2 weeks. The installation process has been completely streamlined. It literally takes us 30 minutes to install and get things going on your system. The actual setup and training will all depend on your team, but just so you know, we're able to train as many people as you need, as many times as you need. And we usually do like to involve the Sage reseller of record, because we feel they know your system, your Sage system, better than we would ever get to know it. So we ask for their help and assistance in making sure that there are no conflicts with custom modifications or third-party products. We do have the ability to process internationally. As we mentioned, we not only process in Canada, but we process within the continental U.S., and soon we will be processing in other countries. We also offer American Express Opt Blue program in the United States. Bryce, if I'm not mistaken, it's available. Is it available for Canada as well?
It's not, but we still have the ability to lower some of the American Express fees, just depending on the size of the merchant.
Okay, great. And then we've talked about level 3 processing and how we do have it available within the continental U.S. Now, level 3 processing is available fully integrated with Sage 300. I'll go into details in a couple more slides here. A little bit about what you would have to do if you decide to switch to a North American Payment Solutions. It's very simple. We ask that you send us the most current 3 months of your merchant statement. We will then conduct a merchant analysis, provide you with a presentation of the analysis results, and then you can decide whether or not to switch at that point. Should you decide to switch, we would send you a merchant application. The merchant application typically takes 3 to 4 days to go through our underwriting team. Once the underwriters approve it, we hand it over to our project manager, who will then contact you and your Sage reseller and schedule the installation and implementation. The implementation team then deploys the new software and provides you with training. With that, and before I go into my own presentation, I'm going to go ahead and just give North 49 a quick opportunity to show you a little bit about Webtelligence.
Thank you, Patty. And thank you to North American Payments for giving us the opportunity to talk about Webtelligence. I just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen okay. Can somebody tell me if our screen is visible now?
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Thank you very much. So again, thanks again for the opportunity to talk about Webtelligence. As Patty says, we are an e-commerce provider with very deep integration into Sage 300. We like to talk about the solution in 3 primary areas. Number 1, we provide a customer portal which can be deployed completely separately from the rest of the e-commerce platform. We also provide a salesperson portal which gives field salespeople or even internal salespeople the ability to process orders on behalf of customers straight into Sage 300 and often perhaps save the cost back in doing so. And also we provide a fully integrated web store that does, well, everything you'd expect a web store to do and possibly a bit more. A little bit about us. As Patty said, some of you probably already know us. We've been around a very long time. I think we've got a fairly good reputation in the industry. The folks here have been doing this for 25 years plus. Most of us have been around for that long, perhaps longer. Much of what Sage 300 users are using now in the current release, let's say version 2014 product updates 2 and 3, included technology that we developed and Sage acquired and had us put it into the main product for them. And actually it even goes prior to that. There are bits of functionality in the core of Sage 300 that were developed by people who are now with North 49. These are things like the customer inquiry screen, the item inquiry screen, all things like that have been developed by the principals or folks here now at North 49. So we have a very deep and thorough understanding of Sage 300 and what it takes to truly integrate. We believe that our e-commerce platform is the most deeply integrated because of our depth of knowledge with Sage 300. Now, when we talk about integration, it means many things. Number 1, Sage 300 integration, deeper than anybody else out there because of our depth of knowledge. Into payment processors, North American Payment Solutions, for example, is one of the payment processors that integrate, and probably one of the better ones that's out there because of their integration with Sage 300. It completes the cycle from the web store straight through to Sage 300, makes life easy for the merchants. integration to tax services like Avalara, for instance. So if you've got tax compliance issues in multiple states, these guys take care of it for you, and we integrate to them, as does Sage 300, so you no longer have that burden to bear. Into freight companies like UPS or FedEx or whomever you might use, allowing your customers to track their products, their orders, wherever they might be, straight through that carrier's tracking site. And then integrations into things like Google Analytics, for instance, so you can test the the effectiveness of your marketing and your website and make sure that you're getting the traffic that you need. When we develop our sites, we don't typically do so based on what you might consider a template. So we don't come to you and say, look, here's a bunch of templates. Please pick one that looks like you think you want your website to look. We'll change some colors and put your logo on it. That's not our typical process for implementing a website for you. What we'd prefer to do is work with you, have our designers work with you, or have our people work with your designers and develop the look, the feel, the navigation, the experience that you want specifically for your customers. Everybody's different, and you have worked long and hard to develop that image, that experience you want for your customers, and we want to transpose that onto your web store to make sure that your customers get that same shopping experience, regardless if they're in store or on your site. And we make it such that it's easy to maintain that content right from your desktop, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So a little bit about the architecture of how we structure this. We are a true SaaS-based model, and really what that means is we've got one product that serves up all customers, and we have this on multiple data centers, so there is redundancy here. So there's a few big advantages to doing things this way. Number one, we're responsible for maintaining that product, making sure it stays up and running. We monitor systems. We have systems monitoring systems. Our people are notified 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if there's an issue. And oftentimes, if there is an issue that's within our control, we'll have it corrected before you or your customers even realize there was a problem. It's only necessary for us to maintain one version of the code. So that means we don't have individual instances of every customer's website. So when an upgrade comes around, we don't have to get everyone in the queue. We do them one at a time. We do it once. Everyone gets the benefit of that effort, and so the cost is minimal to non-existent to move from one version to the next. Now this is exactly the same when we're talking about Sage 300 compatibility releases. And in fact, we're largely shielded from what version of Sage 300 you're running in the back office. We could be doing, or you could be doing an upgrade of Sage 300 in the back office, and your web store can be unaffected. And just when you do the flip over, everything is functioning as it should. We do use Apache on Linux as our web server of choice, and we do so because it is simply the best thing to use for the web. It is stable, it's secure, you don't have to bring it down on Patch Tuesday to install the security updates. It's just the best platform for webs. And then you'll notice this little chart on the side here that we throw in here. This kind of illustrates how many other people believe that to be the case. These are web developers around the world who have chosen Apache on Linux as their platform. It is just the architecture of choice for web stores. There's a couple of primary means of communication that Webtelligence uses when it communicates between Sage 300 in the back office and your web store or perhaps your customer portal. Number one is Dataport. And Dataport is a component of our product that tends to deal with mass movement of volumes of data between the two systems, and it works both ways. So an example might be some of your basic customer information with their addresses and whatnot. It'll be your item information and its pricing. It'll be orders and payments coming down from the system to be automatically put into Sage 300 for you. It also serves as the content management point to get the information that you want to describe your products onto the web store. So first of all, we inherit everything out of Sage 300 automatically. You never have to rekey that information. So our Dataport item maintenance screen looks virtually identical to the item maintenance screen in Sage 300. And we did that by design because we wanted the typical inventory control person who uses Sage 300 to be comfortable in that screen so they could maintain the web store very easily without a huge learning curve. So I think you'd probably agree that the information that sits inside of Sage 300 that describes your items is probably not sufficient for a rich shopping experience on a web store. So within Dataport, you now have the ability to supplement that information with more. So more extended descriptions, more images or images that you want to attach to that item, perhaps videos, perhaps additional documents like maybe a schematic or maybe a user guide or FDA documents or whatever the case might be. It's all possible to do right from your desktop. In fact, you could run it from right inside of Sage 300 if you wanted to, and it automatically will get synchronized up to the web. So once we've got that design in place, there's placeholders for all of this information on the web store. All you have to do is put it in, simply type it in, or drag and drop the images into Dataport, and they will show up in the right place. As soon as you check that box that says allow on web and you synchronize it, it's available for anyone to purchase from your web store. So that's the one thing, that's Dataport. And again, mass volumes of information back and forth and typically on a scheduled basis. So this isn't typically done real time. It's usually not necessary to do that. And you can schedule different processes at different times. So it's not an all or none situation. You might want to synchronize customers and addresses, I don't know, once a month, and maybe your items and pricing maybe only once a week. It's really up to whatever makes sense for the business. And orders and payments can come down as often as you like. It could be every 10 minutes, it could be every 3 hours, whatever makes sense for the business. So you schedule all these processes when it makes sense for you. The other means of communication we have, we call Connect. And this is, I believe, what sets us apart from everybody else that's out there. We read information live from Sage 300. And when I say information, I mean anything that's in Sage 300 is available for us to serve up to the web to your customers if it makes sense for your business. So as much history as you're maintaining, any customer data that you would like to make available to your customers and to your shoppers is fair game, and we can do that. So we use this technology in our customer portal, and this is why we can deploy this completely separately from the rest of the e-commerce platform. All we need to do is have maybe a simple login, perhaps on your existing web store that says customer login. Once they provide their credentials, we know everything about them. So we can now allow them to see their accounts and to see, to manage their accounts, see their statistics, see their purchase history, anything that you want to make available to them, we can do so. And this is done on demand and in real time. So if you make a change in Sage right now, the next time they load that thing up, they're going to see it. Okay? And it's very secure because it's a specifically IP to IP communication, so they know exactly, your firewalls only have to open that pinhole to allow that IP communication, and the communication is also encrypted, so it's very secure. So more of a graphical illustration of what this talks about. Some folks relate more to graphics than sort of a textual context. So Dataport, again, is that one piece that sits in the middle that deals with the synchronization or the mass movement of information between the two systems, and also your content management. Connect, once again, this is real time, and it reads it on demand. When you push that button, the information is there. When you close that screen, it no longer is on the web. It never lives on a web server anywhere. It is saved behind your firewalls in your Sage 300. And you might use this to serve up live inventory information too, as an example, if it makes sense for the business to do that. Now, we're not restricted to the data that lives inside of Sage 300. In fact, any SQL table, any ODBC compliant data source is fair game as well. Lots of businesses have these different systems that they're using to complete their whole business processes, and we can gain access to that, again, if it makes sense for your business and to make it available to your customers online. Now, one example we put here is CRM. We have customers, when they log into their customer portal, they're simultaneously logging into CRM because they can do things like register products, make a service request, all those kind of things. And I have the workflow then take over inside of CRM so that the proper folks get notified internally. This is all possible. And we are actually a CRM developer as well. You'll notice on the bottom right here, we've indicated Amazon and eBay as well as others. So we have done integrations to Amazon as an example, where you use Dataport to maintain your own web store instance. You could also do the same thing simultaneously to Amazon.com and maintain your Amazon instance from one place. So it can be a bit of a bear to keep your Amazon stuff current and up to date. There's a lot of required fields out there that need to be done. We've taken them all, put them into Dataport to try to make that process as easy as possible for you. So it becomes a central place for you to maintain all of your web instances rather than having to jump around to different places to maintain these different instances. So just a couple of examples, screenshots. We don't have really enough time here to get into live product, and just to comment on that. If there's something here you see here you'd like to explore deeper, my contact information will come up a little bit later. You can reach out to me. Happy to discuss your situation specifically and to get you into some live product and let you see what it looks like. But here's an example of what a customer portal might look like. And I want to point out here that everything that we do from a design perspective is always scalable or adaptive or responsive, however you want to refer to it. So it does scale appropriately to the device that you are using or that your shoppers are using, be it a smartphone, a tablet turned vertically or horizontally, or a 24-inch monitor on your desktop. It will scale appropriately and give the best experience possible to that viewer on that device. So here's an example of an icon kind of driven customer portal. So from a strict customer portal standpoint, and if it was just somebody who wasn't ordering anything, you wouldn't have any web store stuff like this little ticker here, nor this stuff on the bottom. So this whole top line here would be very typical customer portal type of access. So view my account activity, look at my transactions, and this could be all invoices and credit notes and orders and all that kind of stuff. You can pay your account online, and in this case we would provide a link directly into North American Payments so that they could pay their accounts online directly. They could look at open orders or their purchase history. What did I buy? When did I buy it? How much did I pay? And again, all the way back to if you've got 10 years of history in Sage 300, we'll show you 10 years worth of data here. It's really up to you what you'd like to show to your customers in this situation. Here's a slightly different view, and this is, and we, as I was saying, we improve the product all the time. And so here's a relatively new function we've just put in, which is a dashboard. So it's a different view for the customer portal. So instead of going to that icon view, they've got now a dashboard view that shows some of the key information that you might want to make available to them. So in this case, we're showing our last 5 invoices, a summary of our sales for the past few years, top 5 items you've purchased. And again, all of those icons you saw on the other one are now down here more as menu items as opposed to icons. So this is another view that we can give to your customers if it's preferred. Didn't talk a lot about the salesperson portal, and really what we've shown here is a fairly simplified web-based order entry form for your salespeople. And in fact, we could deploy something like that for your customers too if you wanted to, because we often find that folks are often coming back and buying the same things over and over again. Perhaps they're very familiar with the item number or with the SKUs or what have you, so might just want to make it real easy for them to order something. But from a salesperson's perspective, all they need to do, they get this header information, which of course you wouldn't expose to your customers, but they type in the customer name or perhaps their customer code, and then up pops all of their information. In this situation, we've actually given the salesperson the ability to override the customer type or the price list or the terms code. And those of you familiar with Sage 300 will recognize this as the Sage 300 price list and terms code stuff. They can have the ability to enter a new customer here on the fly. So what we've deployed in this instance, because they could be using this from a smartphone or a tablet, is a fairly smart finder. So what we've instructed the form to do is when somebody types 3 characters or more and stops typing for a second or more, display me all my potential search results and allow me to select from that list. So that's what we've done here. And we've also done it in the order form grid down here as well, but with a slightly different take on it. So number 1, we've got a SKU and we've got a description. So we've instructed it to say, okay, look in these 2 fields, and anything that I type in my finder here could be in the description field or it could be in the SKU. So I could type in part of the description and I'll get that same results list, or I could type in part of the SKU and get that same results list. So it makes it really easy to find what you're looking for, even if you don't know the full SKU or the full name. You'll get a results list that contains all of that information. We've actually had another customer who used an optional field to put their competitors' part numbers in there. So when they search for a competitor's part number, the result they got was their own part number. So you can do all kinds of interesting things like that as well. This is an example of what a web store might look like, and this is our sample store that we set up on the Sage 300 sample data. So this is one potential view, and I want to stress that your site can look however you want it to look. We will design it to your specifications to make it behave and look the way you want it to look for your customers. This is an example of what we've done for ours. So this would be kind of a category view of the different items there, and as you drill down, here's a specific item view, and with all the extra information here, and this could be as extensive as you wanted it to be. You've got all the functionality about you may also be interested in these items, or customers also bought these things. You can have reviews and all that kind of stuff on your site as well, just like you would expect on any fully featured website. So, just in summary, the Webtelligence, we call it an e-commerce platform because it encompasses quite a few different things. You can start small, you can grow, it will scale with you. There is no limit to how many transactions that your customers or you can process on it. We do not charge on a transaction volume level. We do serve up real-time data on demand in a customer portal type environment. With respect to the salesperson portal, we can deploy it like a web-based order entry form. They can be sitting in front of the customer anywhere in the customer's office, at a trade show, wherever the case might be, but they can have access to complete customer information right out of Sage 300 so that they know the situation with that customer. Should they be taking an order from that customer? Should they be requesting payment from that customer? So it's always good to have complete information anytime you're out there trying to do business with your customers. And from a web store perspective, all the information moves between both systems. You never have to key anything in more than once, and it really is anytime, anywhere, on any device, meaning your customers can do business with you when it's convenient for them, not just when your store is open. And with that, I believe that pretty much wraps up our quick overview of what Webtelligence is all about.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, information is power. You can make your salespeople much more efficient with Webtelligence, as well as give your customers the power and admiration for your company when they see. Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Patty, we can
hear you, Patty.
Okay. I was inspired there for a minute, but yes, ladies and gentlemen, give your customers the power they need to shop, to get to know your company better, to view their account, and to make their payments if they want to. It's always nice to pay when you feel like paying. And then have that all integrated to your Sage system so you have your employees save time and not have to manually key anything in. There's no double data entry required, and then you lose the risk of errors. So everything transpires automatically for you. Speaking of integrations, Webtelligence, of course, we integrate with. We also integrate with many other ERPs as well as third-party products. You can see them on the screen that I had up right now. But if there are any other products that you would like us to integrate with, please feel free to contact us, and I'll be happy to connect you with Bryce Seamy, who's our ERP Integrations Manager. As I promised in the beginning, we're going to talk about Level 3 processing. Basically, merchants who process Level 3 transactions save money with lower interchange rates than those available for Level 1 or 2. And I'll show you a list of what exactly Visa and MasterCard require in order to qualify a transaction for that. We at North American Payment Solutions have actually integrated Level 3 Gateway into Sage 300 and several other widely used ERP systems. I'll mention a few: Sage 100, QuickBooks, Acumatica, NetSuite, and among others. North American Payment Solutions also offers a PCI-compliant security solution with a point-to-point encryption and tokenization, eliminating card data typically stored on a local server. So keep that in mind. And as promised, here is the list of required fields that typically you would have to key in manually in order to qualify a transaction for Level 3. There are 13 to 16 fields required, and what we have done, we've actually automated the process where we take the required fields from your Sage system and provide them to Visa and MasterCard. Therefore, no matter which card you use, we always try to qualify it for level 3. If it doesn't pass, no problem. If it does, you now have instant savings. A quick competitive overview between North American Payment Solutions and other processors. We talked about the pricing structures, Interchange Plus, and the others that would vary. We provide chargeback assistance at absolutely no charge. There is a fee of $3.95 per month from other processors. The monthly fee across the board, $15, no more, no less. With other processors, you really never know. The PCI assistance, we have a PCI assistance team at our corporate office ready to either help you stay compliant or become compliant. We make sure 100% of our merchants are PCI compliant. There is no fee for that. Our team is there to help. Other processors will charge $75 to $100 per year for this. There is no module installation, implementation, setup, maintenance, or support fee. With other processors, it varies. We do not charge an integration fee. Other processors will charge 0.05% based on the volume. We talked about the batch funding time. You know with us it would be 12 hours most of the time. With other processors, it's literally 24 hours. And then the gateway and vault fees. We charge $10 per month. Other processors can charge from $5 to $20 a month. So I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint really quick and show you the Sage 300 integration as promised. You're going to notice in your Sage 300 menu, the APS Pays will appear. We follow Sage's guideline as far as your security settings as well as the user count. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the setup. You can see, and I'm not going to read through the full screen, but you can see it's fairly simple. Setting it up, you would need your product registration, APS credentials, and then you have default settings as far as your bank. You can also split AR batches by payment code if you wish to. And then, of course, if you're going to turn on the level 3 processing. As far as setting up the credit card information for each customer, you would already have the customer set up within Sage 300, so now it's just a matter of adding cards to the account. If you would like to set up a default card, you can always update it, delete it, or add new cards as needed. And you can see that you can choose the currency, the bank, and the payment code. Now let's jump into a transaction. I started a brief transaction as Peter was speaking. Basic Sage 300 functionality here. I basically chose my customer, chose the item, and you can see I chose 2 of the items. Now all I have to do is post. And now when I post, the APS CC payment button will appear. When I click on this button, the APS window will appear as well. We have several custom modifications that we have added. One of them has to do with turning on or off the requirement for a CVV code. So when our project manager initially gets in contact with you, they will conduct a I call it a mini system process review for credit card procedures. And in that system process review, they will find out what your requirements are and try to mimic as much as what you currently do onto the new system. Then they will introduce you to all of the new features that we have, such as the requirements for the CVV code. So if they find out that you really don't need to type in the CVV code because you get the same credit card from the same client 50 times a week, then they will shut this functionality off and you won't need to key it in. In my case, I do, so I just did. And you can make it a final sale, or you can...
Hey, Patty, we lost your audio.
Oh, hello?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Sorry, what part did you last hear? I'm actually...
5 seconds ago.
Okay, well, everyone, I'm sure what you saw you're very familiar with. Thanks, Bryce. It's basically a transaction. I'm going to go ahead and make click on an authorized transaction first. And you'll see that once I clicked on that button, it's actually processing the pre-authorization for me. It will let me know that it's been authorized. And the way that I would like to show you is just jumping into the APS portal and showing you how this transaction looks thus far within the portal. Now remember, one of the biggest advantages of our portal that I've heard from many merchants that have switched to us is the sorting criteria that we offer. When our project manager does the analysis with you at first, or the process review, she will also walk you through the portal and show you how easy it is to find information when you're looking for it due to the large amount of sorting criteria that we offer. We can also set up your account to auto batch at the end of the day. So one of the things I had mentioned at the beginning is the fact that we can provide you with 12-hour funding. If we set up to batch at the end of the day at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can have the funds available in your bank by 9 a.m. the next morning. And right now all I'm doing is bringing up the transaction that I just processed. It's a pre-authorization. Notice how it'll say it's pending capture. It'll give you the transaction ID, and it will reference the order number with the amount. Now, you can always go back and add a shipping fee. Say, for example, you had originally quoted $10 shipping. It was a guesstimate, and now you found out it's $20. You can always go back and make the change. Now, notice how I mentioned it will reference the order ID from Sage 300, and it'll give you details regarding this particular transaction in general. So getting back to Sage 300, there are 3 different areas that you can process a credit card transaction. You're looking at the order entry in sales order, but also in accounts receivable entry, as well as in accounts receivable batching. So those are the 3 areas. Right now, for example, I can go ahead and capture or void this transaction right from this screen, or I can go to, let me close out of this one here. I can go to the order entry invoice entry instead of the order entry, and then just recall a transaction. Now, I had already preset this transaction a few seconds ago, and really all I have to do is look at the shipment order number, select it, and at this point I can go ahead and finalize the transaction. Notice how I can either make the sale, capture, void pre-authorization from an existing order. Those are my options. Now, once again, remember, you can turn the requirement for a validation code off at your convenience. And here it is. It's just saying, do you want to capture or do you want to void? I'm capturing. And there we are. The transaction is complete. Once again, if you go back to the portal, let me just update the portal, you'll be able to see that a transaction has just been processed and that the transaction has been captured and is complete. One of the items I'd like to point out from the portal is the transaction ID. This is the one that I just finalized. The transaction ID will follow the order within Sage 300, so you have a way to cross-reference. Not only are you able to see the order number or invoice number within our portal, but you're also able to see the transaction ID within Sage 300. So with that, I just want to leave this on the screen. The challenges in solving credit card processing issues, and then our solution. We've talked about it throughout the presentation, but just keep in mind what we do have to offer. And then I'd like to leave you, and hopefully we still have a couple of minutes for questions, with our contact information. My name is Patty Benitez, and if you have any questions regarding any Sage product integrations, let me know. I'm sorry, not integrations. Regarding any of the Sage products that you would like us to work with, let me know. Bryce is actually in charge of the integrations. If you have questions about integrating any third-party product, shopping cart, things to that nature, feel free to contact Bryce. And then, of course, North 49 Webtelligence. Here is Peter's information as well. With that, Adrian, did you want to go ahead and start with the poll?
Yes, I do have a poll up for the audience, and if we could ask the audience just to take a moment to answer this quick poll, and I do have quite a few questions here. Bryce, did you have anything to add, or Peter? I think I heard you guys, one of you two in the background.
Yeah, I do have a quick thing to add. This is Bryce. So for the Sage resellers who are on the call, I know there's quite a few. If you have clients who are interested in integrating their e-commerce platform within the Sage product that you've serviced for them, I would highly recommend bringing both North 49 and our company into the picture. And the reality is, if you bring both in, we're going to be a cost savings that can help afford WebTelligence product for that company. Like I said before, typically we're able to save companies several $1,000s a year. So WebTelligence cost obviously depends on what the merchant is looking for, but odds are we can subsidize or possibly even pay for the WebTelligence portal that they're looking to purchase. So that's really all I had.
And I just wanted to add to the audience, I'm not seeing that the voting is taking place. We only have 13% of you who voted, so if we could push that number up, that would be awesome. And let's start off with the questions here. What do I have to do to switch to American Payment Solutions? Great question.
Sure,
Patty.
It definitely is a great question. Thank you, Adrian. Typically, the process begins with allowing us to analyze your current merchant statements. Once we analyze them, we contact you with the results, and then we proceed with providing you with a merchant application. It's that simple. We provide the analysis at no charge, no commitments. We basically want to make sure that we can show you exactly where you're able to save money.
And Patty, we have this question, but I do believe that you might have addressed it during the presentation. What ERPs do you integrate with? I know you said Acumatica. Which other ones?
Yes. Bryce, did you want to answer the integration question?
Sure. So currently we have integrations with Sage 300, obviously. Sage 100 we've had for several years and have hundreds of end users on. Also Acumatica Cloud ERP, QuickBooks Pro, Premier Enterprise. In about a week, we're going to be past QA and we're going to release our SAP B1 integration. And we're also working on Sage 500 and X3. Hopefully by Summit we'll be ready. We also have Verse Accounts, Passport, and Intact that will all be ready at the end of Q3 this year.
And we have a question about WebTelligence. Peter, how secure is WebTelligence?
Well, I mean, it's as secure as we can make it. All of our data centers, we can provide you with the compliancy statements, so they're all fully compliant with current standards. Any communication that we do, as I mentioned, with respect to the Connect functionality is IP to IP and encrypted, so that's very secure. You know, if there's something specific that they'd like to see, we can certainly provide that. Not an issue.
And that's it so far as the questions are concerned. And we are wrapping it up here with a minute to spare. And I do see we have 40% of you in the audience who have answered the poll. Thank you so much for taking time out. If we could get to 100%, that would be great. So I'm just going to give the audience another few moments to answer this question that we have on the screen here. And it looks like we are at the hour. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out. Fantastic presentation. Peter, Patty, Bryce, we really appreciate you guys joining us today. And everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.